lots to discuss now with David B. Des Roches, an associate professor at the Near East South Asia Centre for Strategic Studies at the National Defence University. A warm welcome live from Washington, D.C. So we've covered a lot of ground today in terms of the US, and it's certainly a busy time for Mr. Trump. What do you make of the way he's behaving right now?
That's a pretty broad question. Well, specifically with reaction to Los Angeles, he ran on a platform of enforcing immigration laws, and he ran on a platform of enforcing federal laws against localities that have declared themselves as sanctuary jurisdictions. So that is both the city and the state, city of California, or city of Los Angeles, where I was born as a child of immigrants, and the state of California. Generally in the U.S., what goes on in California is not popular in the rest of the country. So by enforcing federal law and defying the wishes of the local municipality and the state government, he's kind of appealing to his own base. And I think that the nationalization of the Guard probably is both a symbolic aspect. As we know, this administration is testing the limits of federal power, and a lot of unspoken limits on federal power have been swept aside in the Trump administration. But I think it's also among his base, Gavin Newsom, and among a lot of people in California, Gavin Newsom is incredibly unpopular. And so the fact that he's defying Newsom, that's not a negative for him.
And talking about not being a negative, what about losing the Latino vote? Because obviously he's already served 2 terms. Do you think that he'll be bothered by that?
Well, he actually gained, he ran on a more hardline anti-immigration policy this period this time than in 2016, and actually increased his all 3 times he's run, his share of the Latino vote has increased. There seems to be a couple of misconceptions. The first is that all Latinos are the same, and there's a great difference between Mexicans, Central Americans, Cubans, who are the main forms. So that's the first point. But the second point is people who come to the country legally really resent people who come illegally. And that is especially vehement among Latino voters who have come to the country legally or who are descended from those who have been here before. Part of it is national. Historically, most Southern immigration has been from Mexico. The current wave we're seeing is from places like Venezuela and Central America. But part of it is that they are an inherently conservative group of folks. They're aware of the difficulties of getting into the country legally and resent people who they see as taking a line-cutting approach.
And what do you make of the way people are handling Trump? So, for example, the California governor, Gavin Newsom, has said that he would sue Trump, the Trump administration, over their handling of bringing in the National Guard. Is that the right way forward?
For Newsom, I think he has to do something, but it's long established that the president can mobilize the National Guard in a state role. The last time it's been done over the objections of the governor was, I think, in Alabama in 1965 to enforce civil rights laws. But I mean, Trump is trying to support or enforce federal laws, which are valid. He can make the case that he needs some sort of riot protection, perimeter protection force. And I think given that Los Angeles and California are both outspoken proponents of non-enforcement of immigration law, he can make the case that he can't rely on the state and local jurisdiction for this. I think there's another factor here, which is after the January 6th massacre or disturbance in the Capitol, some of the criticism of Trump was that he was too slow to call out the National Guard. And there's been a lot of finger pointing for the last 4 years saying, well, the District of Columbia didn't request the National Guard. It goes back and forth. And I think he wants to get ahead of that as well. So I think that legally, though, he's got a lot of strength behind him. And I think that Newsom is basically just grasping for straws and trying to appeal to his own base, which, of course, hates Trump with a passion.
And David, just while I've got you here, just quickly, we're covering a lot of ground
Sure.
here with Donald Trump today, a lot of topics to discuss as always. But I wanted to get your opinion on the 12 countries that have been banned from entering the US. What do you make of that move?
You know, when in his first term, when he had the so-called Muslim ban, this is how he should have done it. Instead of saying, this is a group of people we have animus towards. If he had, it went back and forth to the court 3 times. If he had just included North Korea the first time and said, look, these are countries that we cannot rely to share information with us. Therefore, we're not going to issue visas except under extraordinary circumstances. That would have passed the first time. So I think he actually does learn. Most of these countries are failed states, or that cannot be relied upon to provide information, or they're hostile to the United States. And I think that there's no constituency against this in the United States, and there are probably security grounds for supporting it. So I think he's on stronger ground here than he was in his first term.
Okay, interesting. David, thank you very much indeed. We really appreciate that analysis. An Associate Professor, Near East South Asia Centre at the National Defence University. Thank you.